I think I think we already touched upon this a little bit, but what do you think about how the media covered GamerGate?
I mean, they came at it from a specific angle, an angle that they had set out in their mind. They had their good guys, their bad guys, and they were going to stick to those guns for as long as they could. It was very one-sided. Um, I mean, even when they brought people who were pro GamerGate on, like Milo Yiannopoulos, although he has fallen in recent times, um, like it always felt like it was meant to be an ambush of some description. Like there was always supposed to be some sort of gotcha that they're trying to catch him in on. It never felt fair. It never felt like they were actually giving us the space to talk. Um, which I mean makes sense. We're going after the media. Why would we expect the media to be fair with us? They're the ones we're attacking.
You mentioned Milo Yiannopoulos. Isn't that actually a great example of how if you don't do enough to condemn bad actors, it makes it impossible to have the conversation that you want to have? If Milo
I think,
was told to fuck
yeah.
off right away by everybody, which he was by a lot of people, but not by everybody, don't you think that
I mean, I
the
didn't.
conversation would have been
I
better?
didn't tell him to fuck off straight away. I think early on, Milo made some good arguments. Actually, good argumentation early on. Same with a lot of people. Hell, Ralph made good arguments early on. I will never condemn some of the things that he said because they're it makes sense. They're good arguments. It's just later on he made a lot of bad arguments and became an asshole.
It's not just bad
Same with
arguments, though.
Milo.
They were legit harassing people. Ethan
Oh,
Ralph in
I
particular.
mean, yes, agreed. Like
No,
that,
he
I will
was
always
legit
condemn.
harassing people.
No, I'm saying agreed. Like that, I will always condemn. I will always condemn that, regardless. Um,
And I have
I also
receipts
think,
too.
yeah, yeah. No, I'd be interested to see. Well, I would find it funny to see because Ralph's a dickhead. Honestly, Ralph's a dickhead, and he he strikes me as someone who early on he made some funny points and some good arguments, and everyone went, oh, you know what, you're okay. And he kind of then got a bit power hungry and just completely went on that trip of just, I'm a superstar. I can do whatever I want. So fuck everybody else because I'm the great, great Ralph. And I think the same thing happened with Milo. Early on, he made some good arguments, some good points. He was, in my opinion, kind of funny early on. And then it was a very, I'm not even going to say slow, quite rapid decline. And now I look at him and I'm like, I don't even know what the fuck is going on with you. Same with Ralph. They're both absolute messes nowadays. And I mean, you can tell I'm left wing liberal. I think the same thing happened with Sargon of Akkad early on. Very passionate, made some good arguments, backed it up, was great. And now, not so much. But that's the nature of things. People change, people's opinions change. And, I mean, what's that old quote? Power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. It's the same with attention. Attention corrupts just as equally. And we saw that with some of the quote unquote figureheads within Gamergate, which is hilarious to me because one of the Gamergate's main points was there is no leader of Gamergate. That was like one of the main things is there is no, you know, blast boss of Gamergate. It's just we're a collective of people.
Yeah, I guess even referring to Ralph as a figurehead in GamerGate um,
Not my
makes
choice.
me makes me question some things. No, not really. It makes me understand why anti-GamerGate people hated us because I
Oh, I
definitely
totally get why they did. I 100% understand why they did. Because people like Ralph stole the microphone and
Yeah.
started yelling. And it's like, well, you do not speak for the rest of us. Um,
Which is
like,
why I think what most of us did, which was say, "Fuck off, asshole. We don't want anything to do with you." I think that's the right approach, not this, "Oh, well, I don't want to spend all day condemning bad actors, so let's just like ignore the bad stuff or like only
oh,
occasionally say that it's bad."
I mean, I guess
Like
I
Ethan Ralph is in large part responsible for me getting doxxed and my parents being
yeah,
harassed for weeks. Okay, like
no, that's
I'll
shitty.
talk about it, but no, like he
Yeah,
was directly. Well,
yeah,
he allowed it to happen in his server. He knew about it in his private
yeah,
chat room, and he allowed it to
that's shitty,
happen.
and I will always condemn actions like that. And obviously, those
Well,
direct actions,
obviously
I will
not
always.
though, based on how you're talking about this, right?
I will condemn them if you bring them up. I just rather, if we're gonna have a conversation on one thing, we stick on that one topic. That's all. That's where I'm coming from. Is I'd rather, if we're talking about A, I don't have to constantly keep bringing up B. That's all. But if you were to say, what's my opinion on Ralph? It's he made like some funny comments and some good arguments early, and he almost immediately fell off his rocker, and then started touting himself as the leader of Gamergate, which was ridiculous. And I think most people called him out on his bullshit. At least most people I saw called him out on his bullshit. So I felt like my one voice amongst the crowd wouldn't have been noticed, so I'm going to use my voice to try and talk to anti-Gamergate people and talk to people on the fence to try and explain, like, almost to try and undo the damage Ralph has done, rather than go out and just condemn Ralph like everyone else is doing. I'm going to try and actually fix the problem. But that was my perspective on it. I don't know. I'm not saying I was wrong or I was right. I'm not saying you were wrong or you were right. I think we just both approached the situation from two different angles. Um, and I think they're both equally needed.
I guess for legal
Just,
purposes, I'll say quote unquote allegedly, but I've got the logs and I'll send it to you after if you
yeah.
want.
Yeah, I'll be. Well, I don't know if you want to send the logs to me because I am once again just a random guy on the internet, and I don't know if you want to, you
Oh,
know.
just if you wanted proof.
Oh, listen. Right now we're both operating in good faith. So I will trust you in good faith that this happened. Um, but
Did
and honestly, in my opinion, it sounds like something Ralph would do.
did you reach out to any journalists or media outlets who wrote articles about Gamergate to correct misinformation?
We wrote, well, all of us, really, all the Color Cabal wrote out incessantly to BuzzFeed about our article specifically to try and get them to correct it. They refused to until the person they interviewed, like, went online. Ha ha ha! I managed to trick BuzzFeed. So yeah, directly, and they just shot us down. Didn't want to have anything to do with us.
Did anyone in the media reach out to you for an interview to discuss the movement?
No. No one reached out to us, which was hilarious to me.
How has the media's coverage of Gamergate affected your trust in the media as an institution?
It's definitely hurt my trust in journalism as a whole, honestly. It makes me think, if we can have this level of ethical violations this close to home, um, what what about the journalism that happens overseas? What about the journalism that happens covering wars or political events? Stuff that people have way more vested interest in. Like, what kind of stuff is going on behind the scenes there that we're just not privy to? It's massively hurt my trust in the media.
If a journalist or games journalist who got Gamergate wrong is reading this now, what do you want them to reconsider?
I don't want them to reconsider anything. All I would ask them to do is talk to people and come to their own conclusions. Like, actually do what you're doing right now. Sit down and have a conversation and see what conclusions you come to on your own. Um, to absolutely use a phrase that I hate vehemently, educate yourself. Hate that phrase, but yeah, actually go out, talk to people, and see what conclusions you come to. Don't just believe what you've been told. Go out and verify it. Go out and see.
What do you think the media can learn about how they covered Gamergate?
About their coverage of Gamergate
Well, I
or
guess
about Gamergate?
we can kind of skip this one actually because we kind of already talked about that in the last answer.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay. All right. What do you think of the Gamergate Wikipedia article?
I've not read it in a hot minute. I'm just gonna bring it up real quick just to refresh my memory because I want to be specific. Yeah, it just buys into the narrative. Uh, I mean, it's Wikipedia. It is what it is, unfortunately. There's not really much we can do about it. I find it depressing that people aren't willing to, like I said, do the research and um and actually talk to us. I find that depressing. Um, but it is what it is. It's the way the media works nowadays. Because it is definitely people in the media that have influenced Wikipedia to have it written like that.
Would you like to see the narrative, quote unquote, on Gamergate change to be more neutral and or positive?
I would aim for neutral, honestly. If I could get it more neutral, I would be okay. Just something where people will go out and have the conversations themselves. I think that's what I would love.
Has your conscious experience as a human been made worse to any degree because of the media narrative about Gamergate?
It's definitely made me more cynical, if that's what you're getting at. It's made me more cynical. It's made me less trusting. It's made me more. It's made me question everything more, which arguably good thing, arguably bad thing, depends on your perspective. Um, but yeah, more cynical. Yeah.
What's your favorite video game?
You see, this probably was the question I was dreading the worst. I'm not going to lie.
He's a fake gamer. He's not even a gamer, guys. No,
Oh.
I'm just kidding.
I really like that League of Dota. Uh, favorite game. Ah, Christ. I don't really have one. That's the thing. It just depends on my mood. I mean, if I was to go into my Steam right now, which has tons of games, I promise. Uh, Probably my most played game recently has been a smallish indie game called Ghosts of Tavor, which is a VR game. Um, it's a lot of fun. Other than that, Time Splitters 2 is a classic. The old Burnouts were great. Uh, what on a more intellectual level have I messed around with recently? Baldur's Gate, fantastic. Bear Sex, 10 out of 10, would recommend. Yeah, that'd be sort of a smattering of my tastes in video games.
Yeah, you can never really just pick one, can you?
Dude, it depends on the mood. What genre are you looking for? You know, I want
Right.
one day, I
Yeah.
want One day I want RPG, the other day RTS, the other day FPS, then a dating simulator in between just to break up the mood a little bit. Like, it depends what mood you're in.
Did you attend a GamerGate meetup?
No, I really wanted to though. I know a friend of mine in once again in the Color Cabal. He managed to get to one, but where I was living at the time, there just wasn't any close to me. Would have loved to have gone though.
Do you have any thoughts on Vivian James or GamerGate related art projects?
Vivian James is great, cute, great waifu material, and fantastic. Um, I love the fact that the horrific sexist group had a woman as our banner. And not just that, a woman who just looked pissed off and sick of everyone's shit. Um, that gave me a chuckle every now and again when I saw it. The other art projects, I mean, there was so much incredibly talented people. This is what I was talking about earlier about gaming culture bringing people together and being a beautiful thing. Like the art that came out, some of it was absolutely gorgeous. Some of it was cringe as fuck, and some of it is even more cringe looking back on it now. But some of it was absolutely incredible, and some of it was really good, and it really brought people together. And I just think it was fun, you know. And we needed a bit of lightness, I think, amongst all the doxing and death threats. We needed something that we could look at and go, that's just a nice piece of art. That's just fun. Someone's had fun drawing that, and I can tell, and that is at least put a little bit of brightness in my day.
Do you know what happened to Ethics the Sealion that GamerGate supporters adopted?
No, I don't, but I'm very curious to find out.
That is something. That is something. That is something we would do. We would name the sea lion Ethics.
Yep. Oh yeah. I uh I knew we did that, but I've no idea other than past that what happened. But I did find that very funny. Once again, just those little splashes of comedy in and amongst all the shit flinging. Like once again, examples of the gaming culture being kind of a beautiful thing. Hilarious in our stupidity.
What was your favorite moment during GamerGate?
Favorite moment. I can't pick a singular moment, but a single aspect is the people I've met. The people I've met, the friendships I've made. Those just that as a collective would be my favorite aspect of Gamergate. I can't pick a single moment. There was so many good, so many bad, so many horrific, and so many weird moments. I don't know if I could nail down just a single one. But if I had to pick an aspect, I'd pick the friends I made along the way.
If you could have changed one thing about GamerGate, what would it be?
Oh, if I could change a single thing about Gamergate, I honestly don't know. I don't know what I would try to change. Like it was all so of its time that I don't know how changing things would affect it, you know? Um if I had a magic wand and could snap my fingers and anything could have been changed, I probably would have tried to get everybody to agree to have no leader and have no figureheads and just be anonymous as much as we could, but unfortunately that didn't happen.
What do you think that would have changed?
I think as a movement it would have been much harder to criticize. I think it would have stood on the strength of its ideas more. I think it would have meant that a lot of the doxing, the harassing on both sides, I think that would have been lessened. Um, I think it would have been easier to weed out bad actors, or at least ignore them. Um, Yeah, I think it would have been better, but I mean, I don't know for sure. I just don't know, you know.
What would you personally have done differently during GamerGate?
What would I have personally done differently? Well, I sort of pushed at one point for the Color Cabal to go in a direction that I now see was not really my call to make. Um, Probably wouldn't have done that. I was trying to get us to be more open, to have more conversations, to bring more people in with different ideas, and I see now that, like I said, it wasn't really my call to make. It wasn't a decision that I should have made. Um, yeah, probably that.
Do you have any actually, let's word this question differently. It's 10
Yeah,
years from
sure.
now. A group of people on the internet have a cause that they care about. They're looking back to old causes, Occupy Wall Street, Black Lives Matter, and
Mm.
GamerGate, these leaderless online movements. What is something that this future cause can learn from GamerGate or these other online movements?
If you are leaderless, stay leaderless. Um, Survive on the strength of your ideas alone. If you are wrong, admit you are wrong and work to correct. Um, if and don't demonize the other side. The other side, the other people, they're still people. They have ideas just like the rest of you. They may be wrong, but that doesn't mean they're less than you. That doesn't mean you can treat them like crap. What that means is you should talk to them. And who knows? Maybe you're wrong. Maybe they're right. And if you are wrong, correct and hopefully share your insights with more people. The only way you get through any sort of controversy is with open dialogue. Otherwise, you end up stagnating like Gamergate unfortunately did. We made some headway, we made some progress, but ultimately we stagnated. And the same thing happened with Occupy Wall Street, and the same thing seems to be happening with Black Lives Matter. Nothing meaningful is getting done because conversations aren't being had.
What have you personally learned from GamerGate?
On a personal level, I've learnt I've learnt to listen more and talk less. Although in this interview I have rambled a lot. I promise, outside of an interview setting, I do listen more. um, I've learnt that people are a lot more diverse than I originally thought. I've learnt that people on the right wing can agree with me just as much as people on the left. I've learnt that a political leaning, a political ideology does not make the man or woman in this case. Um, Values do. What you value and your perspective on the world is what matters, more so than where you sit on a political compass. And to trust people based on their actions, not their words.
Was GamerGate successful in your eyes?
In an incredibly limited way, yes. We do now see uh, more so rules of ethics, disclosure, and so forth being adhered to. I think it's funny. I think Gamergate won regardless of anything Gamergate did. I think Gamergate won as soon as independent media sources became more popular and held themselves to a high standard. I mean, you look at YouTubers like Young Yeah or SkillUp that I mentioned previously, or even the late great Total Biscuit. Um, they held themselves to a high standard. if there was a mistake in a video, they would correct it as soon as they found out. They would disclose if they'd had personal relations with anybody they were covering. At least they seem to, until I'm proven wrong. Um, I think as soon as that happened, and as soon as media started becoming decentralized, GamerGate won. Even though we had nothing to do with that happening, just technology did. Technology exploded. So overall, I think yes, but by no actions of our own.
What do you think of this interview project?
I think it is a massive undertaking by yourself. I truly hope it comes to fruition. I hope it does well, and I hope it opens people's eyes a little bit to sort of what happened and to just, as I repeatedly said about 5,000 times, I'm sure anyone reading or listening is sick of me saying it, but to have the conversation with whoever it is you disagree with, just have a conversation. You'll find a lot of the time the people you disagree with have the same values. They may just be coming at it from a slightly different angle. And a lot of the times you end up having intense, heated arguments over the fine intricacies of an opinion.
Some people reading this might hold a negative view of Gamergate. Do you have anything you want to say to these people?
No, I want to listen to them. I would like to listen to these people and hear what they have to say and hear why they have the opinion that they do.